right, can I have everyone's attention? Good morning and welcome to Richmond International Raceway. We're going to kick off today's media availabilities with Daniel Suarez, driver of the number 19 Arris Toyota for Joe Gibbs Racing. Daniel, you're making your first start at Richmond in the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series, but are no stranger to this track. Can you take us through your experience here at Richmond and how your team is prepping for Sunday's race?
Well, Richmond has been a good place to me. Actually, last week it was very funny because I saw on Facebook that last week, 3 years ago, I did my debut here in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. So I thought that was pretty cool. It's crazy how the times goes very fast, and now be able to be in the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series is something very cool. And not just that, the racing as well, the Xfinity Series is still something that is going to be obviously special, like every single weekend, and a lot of fun this weekend here in Richmond.
All right, we'll open up the floor for questions. We'll go right here to Tom and then Kelly.
Hey Daniel, Tom Jensen, FoxSports.com. Does the fact that we're in a generational change now with so many veterans retiring, is that more opportunity for you young guys coming up through the ranks now?
Well, I believe that there is always opportunity. There is a lot of young drivers out there racing in trucks, in Xfinity, in the K&N, where I came from, in late models, even in different countries, in Mexico, in Canada. There is a lot of talent out there, and sometimes we don't even notice until we turn back and see what all these kids and talent are doing. So I think definitely helps, but as well, all these drivers that now they are either retiring or they are big names in the sport. They have helped a lot to make what the sport is today. So just very happy to be here, very happy as well to be one of the drivers of the new generation, and try to have a lot of fun, and at the same time actually trying to help some of the new generations as well that are coming in my side from Mexico. I have actually two friends that are living in my house, and they are racing late models and K&N, and they are trying to make the way through, and it's always good when someone can give you a hand. So I think it's a lot of talent out there, and eventually they're going to make their way through.
Kelly Crandall, Racer.com. Daniel, can you just break down what you think your strengths and weaknesses have been so far since being in the Cup car?
Well, it's been a lot of going on for sure. Very different than the Xfinity Series, but overall, it's just very easy to be off. Seems like when you are off in the Cup car, you are 25th. And when you are off in the Xfinity car, you can still run 10 or 15. So it's quite a bit different. I feel like we were going through a good direction maybe a month and a half ago, and then obviously we had some changes that were over our hands, and I feel like we had to start again on this learning process in the Cup car, because obviously Scott he's a very good, very smart crew chief. He knows a lot. And he has won 2 championships in a row in the Xfinity Series, but in the Cup car is different. And he knows that, and I'm learning that. So I feel like we're learning together instead of just learning myself. But it's part of it. I like challenge, and I feel like this year is going to be a big challenge for me.
Right here to Zach.
Zach Albert, NASCAR.com. Daniel, you referenced 3 years ago making your Xfinity debut here. What was the biggest thing you learned that night, and I guess in the 3 years since, which may seem like a long time, maybe not in some ways, what's the biggest thing you've learned since?
Man, for me, it's crazy that it's been only 3 years. I feel like it's been more than that. Just a lot of races, a lot of racetracks, and it's been a lot of going on in 3 years for myself. I feel like I'm a different person and a different driver as well. Just learning about the team. That race, I remember that race like it was yesterday. That race was more like a test for myself. that Joy of Racing gave me. And even when the result wasn't good, because we had a flat tire, we run pretty competitive and we run in the top 10 all night long. And it was a lot of fun. And because that race, we got the opportunity to do more and then eventually do a full season in 2015. So, it's very cool. And I never, normally I don't think about these kind of, things about, debuts and stuff. But like I said, I saw it last week and I thought it was pretty interesting.
All right. We'll go right here to Chris.
Chris Knight, catchfence.com. Daniel, have you settled in as far as your new Cup ride with the team and don't feel like as much pressure as there was at the beginning of the season? You seem like you're just going at your own pace and not setting any expectations and just going out and getting better with each week.
I think that's right. I mean, pressure is normal. I guess if you can handle pressure, you're in the wrong sport. But that's normal. We're going to have pressure all the time, and not just from the team. Actually, from the team, I haven't had pressure at all. But for myself to myself, that's the way I am. I like to be competitive. I don't like to run okay. I like to run in the front, and I like to win races. And I feel like we are getting better, but there is still a long ways to go. We are making gains and we are learning a lot of things, and I just feel like we need more speed as an organization. My team, I feel like we are learning some things, but definitely the speed that we need is not there yet. I feel like we are making gains, but hopefully we can keep getting better and get whatever we got left in the table in the first 7 next races, and get that back in the next 3 or 4 races.
All right. We'll go right here to Lee.
Lee, SpencerMotorsport.com. Forgive me if this has been asked since I got in here, but given the recent announcement of Dale Jr. leaving, what do you and the other young drivers have to do to promote yourselves, to make you that driver who is endear yourself to the fans the way he has over the last 2 decades?
I think it's very simple. It's just being yourself. I think every single driver out there in the garage has different personalities. Dale has his personality, Kyle has his personality, Jimmy Johnson has his personality, I have my personality, and everyone is different. And when every single driver can go out there to be himself, I think that's very cool, and the fans like that. And so far is what I've been doing, and I think is the right thing to do. But like I said, overall, Dale has been more than a role model for the sport, and it's great what he has done. Like I said on Twitter last week, I'm kind of new into the sport, but I have learned a lot from him in and out of the racetrack. A great guy, a great driver, and I'm looking forward to keep racing with him this year and to keep hanging out with him as well in the future.
You're in a unique situation because you not only represent Daniel Suarez, you represent Mexico to a large degree. And in other ways, you've had a situation where your father worked on cars like his father worked on cars. You come from a blue-collar working background. Do you understand, that as part of perhaps the heritage of people and the cars and how that all plays into attracting the average race fan?
Yeah, I mean, every single driver out there, just like personalities, they have different background as well. My family didn't come from racing at all, just cars. And slowly I started making my way into the race cars thing. And fans love that. Fans like to know what is behind that driver, what is behind that driver, behind the racetrack, not just in the racetrack. So I think it's very cool. I really feel very lucky to be in this position, to be here in NASCAR. It's been an amazing journey so far in the last 6 years here living in the United States, and I'm really excited and looking forward to the future as well.
Great. Now we'll go back to Claire.
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. On a lighter note, I was talking to your crew chief on air yesterday, and he said, I asked him about the identity of the team, what he's learned about the team, and he said that when Carl left, the food was so healthy in the hauler. All of the food was like this really healthy food. Are you changing that? Is the team changing that slowly, where it will be sort of your choice and everybody will be kind of having some more junk food in the hauler?
You know, my truck driver in the Xfinity stuff, he called me, you know, he called me Daniel, but a lot of times he called me salmon guy because I was asking him to make me salmon every single day, and I'm a very healthy person, and slowly I made that direction in the Xfinity stuff in the last couple of years because I had exactly the same team. And now in the Cup stuff, we are going in the same direction. Cadworth was the same way, and now slowly we are staying there. Sometimes, you know, truck drivers they don't care about that, and some of the mechanics they don't care about that, but and they start going to a different direction. But you have to straighten them up and put them back in the lane.
Great. Any more questions for Daniel? We'll go right here to Nate.
Nate Ryan, ABC Sports. Daniel, you mentioned that you feel like your cars just need more speed. What do you hear from your three teammates? Because obviously you're in your first 8 races of doing this and probably aren't fully aware of like what more speed is or what you need in terms of the Cup environment. Are they saying the same things, or are they also saying it's handling, or what do you hear Denny and Kyle and Matt saying about the handling?
Yeah, honestly, it's the same thing. We just, I mean, if you think about it, by this point last year, the team had already a few wins, and right now we have 0. So definitely there is some speed missing as an organization, but maybe we have one more step left as a team. I feel like as a team we are even one more step back than the rest of the guys, and that's normal. I'm new, my crew chief is new, and pretty much if you change these 2 things, it's a brand new racing. Everything else changed, the system changed, and I feel like we're going to get there. I mean, if you think about it, last year in the Xfinity Series we won the championship and we didn't start very strong. We won our first race until almost the second half of the season or in the middle of the season. So I think we're going to get there. Like I said, Scott is a very, very smart crew chief. I don't think I'm super smart, but I'm decent. So hopefully we can keep moving in the right direction. And like I said, in the last couple weeks, I feel like we've been a little bit better. Hopefully we can keep making those gains.
Great. Any more questions for Daniel? All right. Thank you, Daniel, for joining us. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you, guys.
All right, we're going to continue this morning's media availabilities. We welcome Ryan Blaney, driver of the number 21 Motorcraft Quick Lane Tire and Auto Center Ford with the Wood Brothers Racing. Ryan, you've had an impressive start to your sophomore year, currently sitting 6th in the point standings. Talk to us about how you plan to continue this momentum into your team's home state.
Yeah, it's been a good start to the year so far. I feel like we've had really fast cars, and I feel like all the bad finishes we've had really fast cars, and things just have gone wrong, whether it's our doing or out of our control. We have to clean that up a little bit the best we can, but I feel like the biggest thing is we've had super fast cars, and last week actually we had a really fast race car, and we had our own troubles there with the power steering issue. But this racetrack, honestly, I think was our worst last year out of all of them, and so it'll be a big test to see how we are this weekend. We obviously want to run well for the Wood Brothers being in their home state of Virginia. Even though it's a good ways away from where they're from, but it's still a home state race for them, and we want to do well here. And I feel like, it's going to be a big test, like I said, being kind of far off in this race last year. If we can come out and be competitive, it'll definitely say a lot about our team, about sitting back in the offseason and improving on races that we didn't feel like we were very strong at. So I'm excited to get this weekend started with that car and see what we can do.
Great. All right. We'll start with Claire.
Blair Beeline, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. I'm sure, Ryan, you've known, even if you haven't had time to really listen in or read all of the stories, that there's been a lot of talk about young guns like you this week. And I wonder what's important to you for people to understand about what it's like to be a driver with a personality kind of coming into the sport right now. What would be important for you to communicate, do you think?
I think it's just kind of neat to be part of that group, honestly. Fortunate to be in positions to be with good teams and be part of that young gun group that people call it, with Chase and Larson and, Eric Jones and Daniel Suarez. I feel like we're really lucky to be in that category with a great race team. And NASCAR's definitely done a great job of kind of building up the younger race car drivers in this sport. It's been fun to do a lot of that stuff for NASCAR and be a part of all that with those guys. And I know we're doing something next week before Talladega, so that'll be a lot of fun. But like I said, just cool to be part of that group. Nice to be in the same category as those race car drivers. They're great people, and not only great drivers, but off the racetrack, they're great personalities as well. So it's just nice to be mentioned in that little group.
Hey, Ryan, Tom Jensen, FoxSports.com. You're buddies with Junior. What did you think when you heard the announcement? Were you surprised? Reaction?
I wasn't really surprised. I just, you're kind of just going along with what he says. It's it's a personal choice of his, and he's done so much in his career. He definitely deserves the chance to choose of what he wants to do, if he wants to keep driving or not, and he's been able to make that choice. And I think there's things he wants to do outside of racing. Him and Amy, that I know they're excited for, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he does next. I've been fortunate enough over the past couple of years to call him a good friend of mine and be neighbors with him and be able to hang out with him a good bit and just talk not only racing but things outside of it as well. And that part to me has been really special. Growing up watching him racing and growing up in the garage like I did and seeing him, whatever car he was in, whether it was the 8 car or the 88 car, and he's been one of the biggest names in our sport. And I definitely hate to see him go and leave the driving side of it, but I hope he sticks around, whether it's at the broadcast booth or things like that. I think he will. You saw Jeff do it, and he's just a great person for this sport. Not only, like I said, in the car, but outside the car, he does a lot of great things that have propelled this sport to where it is today. And it's definitely sad to see him go, but I'm excited to finish out this year with him. That'll be really special.
Great. We'll go to Nate and then Chris.
Nate Ryan, NBC Sports. Ryan, they used to treat Richmond International Raceway with like a sealer until about 2002, and then after repaving, they haven't treated it with anything since then. With the success of the VHT at Bristol, do you think they should consider doing something like that here? And where do you fall on that debate? Because obviously Kyle Larson and some drivers had opinions that low and high is good at Bristol. Some think low only is good.
Answering the Bristol question first, I feel like this year was a really good race. I don't know what other people think. I know I kind of saw mixed things from the fans. Most of it was positive, some negative things, but I personally thought we were just going to be on the bottom the whole race throughout practice because the stuff they put down was so wide, a lot wider than the fall race last year, and I'm kind of happy we were able to move around. You could pass on the bottom or top and even shoot the middle sometimes, and I thought that was great. It gave you 3 options pretty much to get through lap traffic or past cars, and I thought that was some great racing. It was better than just being married to the top or married to the bottom. I feel like if you have 2 lanes that are equal, that shows great side-by-side racing. At the end of that Bristol race was awesome to watch. I rewatched it after the weekend, but this place, I don't know. I don't think it needs anything like that. This race last year we were all the way up to the wall and at the bottom. I feel like we could run around anywhere here. Maybe they can consider doing something like that at newly repaved tracks. I don't know if they go to Texas and try to help out that upper lane a little bit. That might help it out, but I don't think this place needs any of that. I feel like it's a great racetrack and it's worn in, and you're always searching around for grip. I feel like that makes for really good racing already. So.
Perfect. We'll go to Chris and then Brant up here in the front.
Chris Knight, CatchFans.com. Ryan, Wood Brothers Racing made the move from Virginia to Mooresville, North Carolina, and I was just wondering how you feel like that had an impact on the team and you being able to be closer to the shop as well.
Yeah, I think they moved down to the North Carolina area in general, 7 or 8 years ago, and they were in Harrisburg, and now in the off season we just moved to Mooresville by the drag strip. But it's been, honestly, the move from Harrisburg to Mooresville has been super beneficial. It's made the most sense, really, logistic-wise, from getting cars back and forth to the Penske shop. I'm 10 minutes down the road from the Wood Brothers shop, and it's just closer for everybody. But I think it's been great to, have it closer to the Penske group. We get a lot of resources off of them and a lot of information, which has been really beneficial to our team this year. So logistic-wise, it was a smart move by the Wood Brothers group.
Great. All right, we'll go to Brant.
Brant James, USA Today Sports. Junior has gone out of his way at times to compliment you on what you do, in the car, out of the car, social media, promoting the sponsors, and what you could mean to the sport in the future. What's the power of a junior endorsement? Not only, I suppose, making you feel really good, but how much of a validating effort does that have, as within the sport for you?
It can be positive and negative, and I've seen both sides of that this year, to be honest with you, from the Phoenix and Martinsville deal to, him saying that stuff. He has a very big impact of what people think, whether it's fans or in the garage area, and him talking up, younger drivers or the sport in general is going to get, his fans excited about the future of going forward, even though he's not going to be driving anymore next year. What he says is going to be very important, and I know he's always said great things about the sport and drivers in it, and he's always been very positive, which makes him, that alone makes him a great person and a great ambassador for the sport. But it definitely, means a lot to hear him say those things. And like I said, I know he says that about, a lot of young drivers and trying to set everything up for the future. But it's just nice to be part of that conversation when he speaks. It's pretty nice.
Great. All right, we'll go right here to the front.
Ryan, one of the things that has been talked about is your social media prowess. Tell us a little bit about that. What you like most, and where most of your followers are.
Yeah, I used to not like social media at all a handful of years ago. I thought it wasn't really my thing, and then you kind of get more into the sport and realize how big of a deal it is and how much fans like that side of it, and how much information it gives them throughout the weekend or even throughout the week or year. You realize you have to do it more. And I think, as you grow, you kind of figure out what exactly to put out there and which is, beneficial to the fans, to yourself, to your sponsors or NASCAR or your team. That's been a lot of fun personally for me throughout the recent couple years, putting some fun stuff out there, whether it's just myself or doing things with the fans or your friends. I believe fans like to see that, especially when you're kind of away from the racetrack. They like to see what kind of a person you are, and I feel like we've been trying to pump that out. So I like it. Like I say, it can be your best friend or worst enemy, and I've been on both sides of that this year. But I think it's a great tool for the fans to use to get information about us or NASCAR. And like I said, I think we, and by we I mean the team and myself and NASCAR, they do a great job of putting things out there that the fans like, whether it's podcasts or videos or things like that. I think it's pretty good. So that's always going to keep growing. It's not going to go away, and it's something you have to be fairly decent at, I feel like.
All right, any more questions for Ryan? Okay, thanks for joining us today,
Thank you.
Ryan. All right, we're going to continue this morning's media availabilities. We are now joined by our points leader, Kyle Larson, driver of the number 42 Credit One Bank Chevrolet for Chip Ganassi Racing. Kyle, can you speak to how your team and you plan to extend this lead heading into Sunday's race?
Richmond, we had a good run here last year, but typically I don't run great here. I mean, I'm okay. I run typically right around 10th, but last year we were a lot better and we were able to finish second. So hopefully we've hit on a balance that I like here and can show it again here this weekend. It'll be different. That was a night race. This can be the sun out, hot, slick. So to be harder on your tires, you have to take care of all that stuff, your brakes and everything. So we'll just wait and see. Richmond is a a tough racetrack. It's super slick. To me, it feels like one of the slickest places we go to once the tires wear out. So I gotta do my best to take care of my race car.
Great. We'll start right up here front with Tom.
Hi, Kyle. Tom Jensen, FoxSports.com. The speeding penalty at Bristol cost you a chance at winning the race. Can you explain how so many drivers this season are struggling with pit road penalties and losing races in the process? What's the issue you guys are having?
Well, I think they've added segments. Well, I guess Bristol they haven't added any segments, but most tracks they've added twice as many segments. So it's if you get a little too fast over your speed limit, it's hard to get back down to before you get to the end of that zone. So I think that's why you see people getting more speeding penalties. Last week it looked like on my in-car, so you can kind of speed around the corner there, and then you have to slow down for your once you get on the straightaway. And when I went to slow down, Joey was still in the corner behind me, Logano, and tapped my rear bumper, and it got my my rhythm off, and I was, I think, only like a half mile an hour over. So, yeah, that was unfortunate because we had a good car last week. But, Chad and everybody made a, aggressive pit call there at the end to take 2 left side tires and gained a lot of track position and, had a shot at winning still. So, wish I wouldn't have sped there. We would have had probably a little bit better shot at a win. Jimmy got going really good there at the end, though.
We'll go right here to Nate, and then right here.
Nate Ryan, NBC Sports. I have actually 2, Kyle. The first one would be you were fairly defiant at Bristol about 2 lanes were the best way, and then I saw your tweet post-race. You felt, I think, pretty vindicated. What was the response to that tweet, and what did you hear from people?
I would say more people probably agreed with me by the end of the race. You still had your older race fans that enjoyed the single file racing around the bottom, but I know all the drivers enjoy every racetrack we go to. They enjoy when we can move around and find different lines on the racetrack to pass, because it makes, at least from our seat, maybe it doesn't translate to TV as well, but in our seat the racing's way better that way. And I thought Bristol last week was awesome, especially because we had all the rain and the track was fresh there to start the race, so it went through all the changes it normally goes through throughout the weekend, in one race. So the line changed so much. It kept all of us drivers and teams on our toes because we had to search around a lot and try and do things in the cockpit to make our car better because the track was going, through so many changes. So I think that style of racing at Bristol is awesome. There's no other track on our circuit that has that exciting and intense of racing. I watched the race over last night, and I thought it was amazing. So hopefully they don't try and do anything more to make us go around the bottom, because Bristol is awesome.
Do you empathize at all, though, with the old school fans who prefer the bump and run?
So I don't, I have been in this sport a long time, but I can't imagine, the pace of our races nowadays have to be way more, way faster than what they were running, in the early 2000s or whenever the best racing at Bristol was. We're running qualifying laps around there all race long. So, and 2, our bumpers line up. So it's not easy to do the bumper run. You see on TV people do, hit somebody in front of them, and the guy in front of them barely moves. So where back before the bumpers lined up, you could get into somebody, pick them up and move them. Well, now you just hit them and they don't really go anywhere in front of you. So the bump and run's kind of gone away a little bit, just the way of, I think, our style of our bodies are, as well as I think we have more grip nowadays than they probably had back then. So the pace to me feels extremely fast, especially when you put the VHT down. It gets faster and faster down there, so it makes it harder for us to do the bump and run. So yeah, the style of racing and the style of cars is just different than what it used to be, and I don't think you're gonna get all the way back to how they all like it.
Last one. They used to seal this place until about 15 years ago. They used to treat the surface. They've stopped doing that. Should they consider something like the VHT at Bristol here? Does it need it? Would it help it?
I don't know. There again, Um, yeah, this is another short track, and all the drivers complain. All of us complained, a few years ago when it was single file around the bottom the whole time, and then Goodyear brought a great tire back, and now we're running all over the racetrack, and drivers and fans seem to like it. So it's opposite, I guess, that fans want one thing at one track and want the opposite at another short track. So I don't know. I think the racing here is good, really good right now, and a lot of fun too. So I don't know if VHT. I don't really have an opinion on this place, if the VHT will make it better or worse or what.
Hank Kurz with the AP. There's been a lot of talk this week with Dale Jr.'s announcement, and Tony and Jeff Gordon and Carl Edwards about the retirement of a bunch of guys and the need for NASCAR to kind of identify who the next stars are going to be. How much of an opportunity does that feel like for you, and how important do you think it is that there be a bunch of guys that rise up and become popular like that?
Yeah, I think although it's sad that we have all of our veterans and heroes retiring now, I think NASCAR's in a great position with all the young talent that they have in the Cup Series currently, and in the really every kind of feeder series below them. There's a lot of young guys with great equipment and good backing. So I think the competition will be good, and there's a lot of personalities too. You see with people getting themselves out there on social media and stuff like that, showing their personalities. So I feel like we're in a good spot to have some new stars step up. I know a lot of people have been pointing at myself and Chase and Blaney as just named 3. So that's pretty cool to be in that category, and hopefully we all have a lot of juniors fans kind of dispersed to cheer for us and don't just leave the sport totally. So it's going to be interesting to see kind of how with him retiring, how it changes the sport, popularity wise. It could be good, it could be bad, who knows, but I think all of us young guys are ready to kind of fill in his shoes a little bit.
Great. We'll go right here to Lee in the front.
LeeSpencerMotorsport.com. When you did 12 questions with Jeff Gluck, he asked you a similar question, about grassroots racing, open wheel racing, and basically I think you said that you were one of the last real racers left. And can you explain why that is important, why NASCAR has to do a better or NASCAR fans need to have a better understanding of the roots of the sport?
I don't know. I think NASCAR fans understand grassroots racing and stuff. That comment more was just rather, and there's other drivers in the Cup level that go on their off weekends and run other types of racing and stuff, but not nearly. They don't race nearly as much as I do outside of NASCAR. So, and I would race a lot more if I was allowed to. So, that's why I feel like I'm the last true racer. I'd love to race any type of vehicle. Whether it's in a circle, straight line, road course, I don't care. I just feel like, I think, like Andretti and Foyt and Tony Stewart, like, I feel like I'm in the same category as them. They would race anything every day of the week. So, and like I said, there's a couple that will race, here and there, but I would race every day of the week if I could. So that's why I feel like I'm the last true racer left.
Great. We'll go right back here in the back with Claire.
I know that when you got signed, Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio by Chip, he looked at you for your talent, not what money that you had. And your dad had told me that he would love for you to stay with Chip Ganassi your entire career and be the impetus for changing that team into something that's a huge powerhouse. Is that just sort of wishful thinking, or is that something that you actually, too, want to believe with so much talk about what you might do with your career?
I mean, as far as turning into a powerhouse team, it depends a lot on, hard work and all that. So that's, all wishful thinking that hopefully it will turn into kind of like what Jeff Gordon and Hendrick Motorsports was when he first started. So I'm very thankful that Chip signed me a few years ago without any funding, because I had no funding, and moved me up the ladder quick. It all kind of worked out perfect with me in my situation. So I'm very loyal to Chip. I love racing for him. It's been especially fun this year because we do have fast race cars. So I hope, I would love to be with Chip the rest of my career. Just got to continue to keep working hard and keep building fast race cars.
And there's a lot of talk about you, right or wrong. There's a lot of fan talk about you in the '88 and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I've been reading that a lot. It's funny to look at that, and fans think they know everybody's contract situation. So I think it's pretty funny.
All right, do we have any more questions? Right here in the front with Kelly.
Kelly Crandall, Racer.com. Kyle, I'm curious. So much has been written, obviously, so early in the season because of how you're running. There's been a lot of chatter about, living up to your potential, showing everybody this is what we've been waiting for. First, do you get caught up into what everybody's been saying about how you've been running and what the team's been doing so far?
Yeah, I mean, I read it all. It's when you're running good, it's easy to read all the positive stuff. Whenever I've ran bad in the past, that's when I stopped reading everything. But no, for sure, right now I listen to every talk show deal on Fox or NBC, or read every article that my name is tagged in. So not that it boosts my ego or anything. It's just cool to kind of see what people are talking about myself and our race team, and because we're running good right now. So I don't think it goes to. It definitely doesn't go to my head. I don't think it goes to any of our people's head at our race shop or on our race team. So we're just enjoying what we've got going on right now and having fun with it.
And do you does it put more pressure on you or less pressure that because of how you're running, do you feel like you have to keep proving that this is what you're supposed to be doing the rest of the year, or does it kind of take the pressure off that this is we're where we're supposed to be?
I don't know. I've never really felt like I've had to prove anything. I just try and have as much fun as I can. It's easy to have fun when you're running good. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't put any pressure on myself. I don't let the media put any pressure on me or our guys and gals at our race team. But it's just fun, to be this fast, and I'm hoping we can ride this wave all the way to Homestead and win a championship.
We'll go right here to Nate.
Yeah, Kyle, I know that Chip loves having his driver's contracts out in the media, so I thought I'd just give you this chance. He said that fans love to speculate on contracts. Would you like to just put all that to bed and just tell them, like, there's no possibility of you leaving in the next however many seasons?
I'd have to talk to Chip, I guess, before I came on the public about anything that serious. So I won't talk about anything like that because I don't even know if I'm allowed to or not. I know Jamie's very secretive about all his stuff, but yeah, I don't know.
All right. Do we have any more? Oh, yes, right here in the back.
Hey, Kyle. Nathan Epstein with Wavy TV and Hampton Roads. Can you describe? I think Dale made his Cup debut. What was it? 18, 19 years ago. I think you were like what? 5 years old, something like that.
I'm 24 right now.
So can you explain just sort of what you saw in him at a young age, and now racing alongside him, what kind of influence he's had on you on the track?
Yeah, I didn't watch a ton of NASCAR growing up. I don't even remember watching him get started. But I do remember, after his dad had passed, and all the pressure that was put on him and stuff. So you kind of feel for him a little bit. I remember back then, because a lot of the fans kind of try and live Dale Sr. through Dale Jr. And that's I'm sure that was tough on him. He had a lot of expectations on him, and he's done such a good job, handling all that and being real and being him. I don't know him a ton, but I've spent enough time around him a little bit, and people that have spent time around him that they all say he's the same guy at the racetrack that he is at home. So I think that's really good and cool, and he's had a lot of success in his 18 or 19 years, and it's it's cool to see, like I said, how he's handled all that pressure but still performed at a high level too.
Great. We'll go right up here in the front to Brant.
Brant James, USA Today Sports. Talking about the changing in the guard from the older stars to the younger stars, how much more of a chance does this have to succeed? I mean, look at the points right now. You and Chase and Ryan are doing very well. I mean, it seems like not having to sell that, hey, these guys are going to be good someday is a big part.
Yeah, I think it's really cool that. I read some stuff this morning, that nobody's really mentioning Joey Logano, but he's only 2 years older than I am, so he's up there as well. But it's cool to see that there's a handful of us up in the front of the standings, not just one of us. So that's able for NASCAR to promote us even better. And I think next week myself, Ryan, Chase, and maybe like Eric Jones or something, we're all doing like a kind of like a media tour throughout DC and New York and stuff like that. So it's fun to have all of us running well and getting promoted, finally. I feel like it's, got to watch a couple other young guys be promoted a lot the last year or so. But now that I'm running up front, it's good to be a part of that group and get my name out there more. Like I've been saying too, there's a lot of young guys and gals that are below us that are coming up, and it's gonna be interesting. I think the next 4 or 5 years, NASCAR is gonna go through an exciting change. Average age is going down, and I think new sponsors will hopefully be coming in, new fan bases, because we are millennials, and that's kind of who we need to get in our sport. So it's gonna be fun to have all of us work hard and try and build our brands and build the sport as well.
All right. Thanks for joining us today,
Thanks.
Kyle. Good luck this weekend. All right, we're going to roll into our next media availability. We are joined by Martin Truex Jr., driver of the number 78 Bass Pro Shops Tracker Boats Toyota for Furniture Row Racing. Martin, your team has continued to show speed this season. You've collected a victory at Las Vegas and a series-leading 5 stage wins. Is it safe to say you're a fan of the stage racing?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Definitely a fan of the stage racing. It's been good to us so far, and looking forward to hopefully getting some more points this weekend.
All right, we'll go right here in the front to Kelly.
KellyCrandallRacer.com. Martin, you said last week at Bristol that you would be really curious to see the data just to know how close you were, how far over you were with the speeding penalty. Have you had a chance to look at it? Because you said it was probably going to break your heart.
Yeah, it wasn't as close as I thought. It was 0.45 miles per hour, so that's a pretty big speeding ticket these days.
All right, we'll go right here to Reed and then in the back.
Reed Spencer with NASCAR Wire Service. Martin, to follow up on that, why do you think this year in particular, just in general, there's been such a proliferation of speeding penalties? Is it the new segments? And do you need something more accurate in the car to be able to gauge your speed?
Yeah, I think, obviously the segments have a big part in the speeding penalties. I think, also on top of that, just everybody's just trying to get everything they can. Everybody gets the data after the races. They see if they're, the fastest car on pit road all day or if they're 20th all day. So, I think everybody's just constantly pushing those limits. I don't know that we need to change anything. I think it's good that we have, speeding penalties here and there. We have things going on. It's a really hard, tough responsibility for the drivers to manage, those pit road lights on the dash. And I think it adds an extra element of just, somewhere where the driver can make a difference and in a good or a bad way. So I like the way it is. I think it's good. We typically don't get many speeding penalties, and it definitely hurt last week to get one while in position to possibly win, but that's the way it goes. Those are the breaks. So I think we need to keep it difficult. Pit road speed limiters, I think, would just would take an element out of the racing. I don't think that'd be good.
We'll go to the gentleman in the back.
Mark Davis from NBC 12 here in Richmond. Dale Jr.'s announcement obviously rippling through NASCAR this week. Can you just talk about the impact he's had on you and kind of how that announcement hit you and your thoughts on his career and what he's meant to the sport?
Oh, man, as far as the impact, there's a very high possibility that I wouldn't even be sitting here right now if it wasn't for him giving me an opportunity back, actually right here at Richmond in 2003. So he's been a huge part of the reason I'm here. He's been a great friend throughout the years, somebody I really look up to, and a great role model for young drivers. And just so many things I learned from him, and so much I actually owe to him. So I'm happy to see that he was able to go out his own way on his own terms. I think, as a driver, that's everybody's dream, to not have something or someone make that decision for you. So very happy that he was able to, figure out what he wants, where he's headed next. And we're obviously going to miss him here at the racetrack, but he's been a great competitor to race with. He's been a great teammate. He's been a great friend over the years. And, most of those things are not going to change, but we'll definitely miss him on the racetrack for sure.
We'll go to Hank and then Nate.
Hey, Martin. Hank Kurz with AP. With all these guys stepping away and all this talk about who the young stars are going to be, are you kind of ready to feel like an old guy all of a sudden?
I'm only 36.
I know.
I don't feel old, so that's good. That's the most important part, I guess. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of young guys coming up, but I feel like I've got my best years ahead of me. So, they can keep talking about who's retiring and who's going to fill their shoes, and hopefully I'll be here to take a bunch of checker flags home.
Is that kind of your MO, to kind of just lay in the weeds and let them talk about all the extremes, and you be there and kind of pick up the pieces?
I can tell you I do not mind being that guy.
Nate Ryan, NBC Sports. Martin, the Joe Gibbs Racing drivers often refer to you guys as like being their fifth and sixth cars, but it seems like so far this year, not seems like, it's clear from the stats. I mean, you and Eric to some degree, but you especially have been outrunning the Gibbs cars. I know you guys are still aligned very closely and work closely together. Is there any reason that Furniture Row has been so much better than Gibbs?
Well, I think it's just there's no real reason. We all get the same information. I guess at the end of the day, it's how you use it, how you put it to use. I think our team, Cole, Jazzy, my engineer, Pete, our guys in general are just, right now we're just clicking. We have a lot of confidence. Things are going well. My guys are doing an amazing job of, filtering through all that information and making sure the right things are going into the car. And, the communication between all of us at the racetrack has been a big part of that. So, I mean, it's not one thing. It's just right now it just seems like we're all clicking and we're making it happen. And, I think the good part for those guys is that they see what we're doing, how we're doing it, and, they know it's possible as well. So hopefully, they've done so much for us since we moved to Toyota last year to get us going and kind of get us up to speed, that it's fun to be there and try to help those guys and show that our team is a big part of being competitive, running well, making sure Toyotas are up front each and every week, and kind of shows that they made a good decision by bringing us in and making us part of that team. Yeah, I mean, it's just little things, details. I mean, driving styles, the way they're implementing that into the cars and the setups, and it's just, this sport's so much about people, so much about communication. You can have all the tools in the world. You can have, race cars capable of winning. It doesn't guarantee that you're going to hit that magic combination every weekend. And, for us, it's just things are just clicking right now, honestly, and things are going well. Our guys are doing a good job, like I said, but we've got the confidence and the communication, and things are just clicking along. So hopefully we don't lose that. It's hard to find when you don't have it, but, those guys have been competitive. I know a lot of their finishes haven't really showed how well they've ran at times. Kyle looked really fast last week and had some tire issues. So it'll come. Those guys are really, really good, and they'll figure it out pretty quick.
We'll go right over here to Claire.
Claire Beelang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. You do seem like one of the drivers that's a young driver and yet mature, that you've been around for a little bit. And I think you would be really good to answer this because you have a young brother who races as well. Can you look back to when you were a young gun and, when you started speaking out, how you felt when you first came in with your personality? And I don't know at that time if people were really emphasizing that, but that's all the talk now. Flash back just a little bit.
Well, I think when I started, it was, a little bit different. you know, we'd won two championships in the Xfinity Series and moved our whole team up, and it was, you know, we weren't really that competitive right out of the gate, and we had to learn, and we kind of took our lumps along the way. You know, I think you see a lot of the young guys coming in now, and they get with the right teams, and you know, I think I hit on this a few weeks ago, that the way the teams work and the communication and, you know, really essentially all the teams under each roof kind of work as one these days, where it didn't used to be that way. So I think we see these young guys that get great opportunities really come out of the gate strong, competitive. You know, we see what they're doing. It's been amazing to watch them. It's almost like, you know, they've been out here for 10 years already. So I think it's a lot different today starting out with the big teams than it was when I did. But, you know, at the same time, it's I remember those days like it was yesterday. It wasn't that long ago. And, you know, I remember having a lot of fun. I remember it being feeling a lot of pressure just because of, you know, it's the Cup Series, the expectations, your job's on the line each and every week, it seemed like, especially, you know, back then. So definitely a lot different feeling these days.
Out, or would have asked questions, or, you know, kind of been more vocal at the time? Or did you come in slow in your mind and kind of holding back until you felt like you could be who you were?
No, I mean, I was comfortable with, you know, where I was and the teams I was with and things like that. So, I mean, I don't think I've ever really changed my mindset or my approach that much. And, you know, I don't think I'm a whole lot different today than I was then. I think I'm a whole lot smarter, but, you know, I wouldn't say I talk anymore or do things much differently, you know, off the racetrack or away from my race team.
All right, any more questions for Martin? All right, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a very special press conference here today, this weekend, tomorrow afternoon is the third Dash for Cash race. And today we have driver of the #1 Golden Corral Chevrolet, Elliott Sadler, the driver of the #9 Liberty Universsity Chevrolet, William Byron, driver of the #19 Wastebits Toyota, Matt Tifft, and finally, last but not least, certainly the driver of the #21 Blue Gate Bank Chevrolet, Daniel Hemric. We'll start with our points leader, Elliott Sadler, coming into this race with 6 straight top 10 finishes. Still looking for that Dash for Cash win, and this is your home track, so I bet this would be extra special if you got it.
It definitely would. You know, we love Dash for Cash and what Xfinity does for our series, and I've been able to win a bunch of the Dash for Cash races in the past. That $100,000 is a lot of money, you know, to the Xfinity series and Xfinity drivers. And, you know, congratulations to Daniel last week for winning. It's always tough, and you're always focused on who you're racing against. And, you know, we definitely want to get qualified for that and be a part of it. And, you know, especially doing it right here at home, right here in my backyard will be fun. And we got a lot of cool stuff with us going on this weekend. Golden Corral, if we finish in the top 10, kids eat for free on Monday, which is cool. So if I finish in the top 10, these 3 guys beside me can eat for free because kids eat free on Monday. So we got a lot to race for this weekend.
That's awesome. I'm sorry, William, you have to follow that up. Second in points, 5 top 10s this year. Great start to your rookie season. Talk about your Dash for Cash outlook, if you would.
Yeah, it's really exciting to have the Dash for Cash. I think it's something that's an extra incentive for all of us, and just good for the race teams, good for everyone. So with us having 4 cars, we have a good shot at it each week that we have the Dash for Cash. So hopefully we can do that this weekend and just try and keep up with Elliott and these guys up here.
And Daniel, you used strategy to win the Dash for Cash last week, and that was a pretty cool outcome for you, 5th place finish. Can you talk about that experience, winning the Dash for Cash, and what do you need to do to repeat that this weekend?
Yeah, I feel like we used strategy to win the second stage, to put ourselves in position to win the Dash for Cash, but the speed we had in our Blue Gate Bank Chevrolet was what enabled us to go on and race for the $100,000 on a serious note. So Bristol, a lot of stuff's happening fast, so you're trying to you know, commit to whatever that strategy is and be all in with it, and that's what we did. So it was really cool to be a part of it, to have Xfinity and Comcast offer us drivers not only that opportunity, but it also, with the media and everybody, it allows us to put our name on the map and have everybody talk about you throughout the week. So it was good to be able to have something like that to fall back on. I didn't spend all the money yet. My wife may have. But it's been yeah, no, tell me about it. But it's been a good experience, and hopefully we can do, just like Elliott was saying, hopefully continue this week, put ourselves in one of the top 2 spots throughout the first 2 stages and have another shot at.
Thanks, Daniel. And Matt, you're 9th in points with the top 10 this year. Talk about your weekend and Richmond and the Dash for Cash program.
Yeah, last year Richmond was my first race in the Xfinity Series for 2016, and had a great top 5 run whole time. And it was my first Dash for Cash race last year, but I wasn't eligible to be able to contend for it. So coming into this weekend this year, coming off of a great run we had here last spring, gives a little bit more confidence to get our team rolling, and obviously the huge bonus on the line with the Dash for Cash, and we want to be able to compete for that $100,000, and such a cool program we have to go be able to race for. So looking forward to this race weekend in a familiar place we've had success at.
Thank you, Matt. All right, we'll open up to questions. We'll kick it off with Reed, and then we'll go in the back.
Reed Spencer with NASCAR Wire Service. Elliott, since you're the veteran of the group, how has the change in format, basically determining who's eligible via segments versus heat races, changed the way you approach the race and changed the feel of the race?
Well, I tell you, that's a good question. We've actually changed our strategy a lot this year based on the stage racing, and we didn't really know how much we change it until we actually got to Daytona and saw how different everybody races, getting close to the end of the stages. And that's what's neat about this Dash for Cash races. We actually got a couple things going on. Yes, we're trying to get qualified for the Dash for Cash, but we're also trying to get bonus points for the stages too. So we're kind of playing it by ear. What decision can we make to best benefit us? Daniel and his team, Danny did a great job last week of making that strategy call and getting up front, getting a bonus point and eligible at the same time. And that's like in the Grand Slam in baseball. So it's definitely changed the way we're looking at the races, not only from the Dash for Cash side, but also the stage racing side. There's a lot of points to be made, and now that you know you're going to be saved by a caution, you can be more aggressive. We can be more aggressive on pit road. We can take more chances because you know a caution's coming out to save you if you make some type of mistake. So it's definitely changed the racing, and now you throw the Xfinity Dash for Cash on top of it. It's a lot to keep up on these race weekends.
Going back.
Elliott, Mark Davis, NBC 12 here in Richmond. You had a lot of top 10 finishes last year, 6 straight so far this year. What's been the difference for you? What have you been able to tap into? What's been working for you guys?
Yeah, I got a really good race team, and William will tell you, being my teammate, those guys put a lot of effort in the cars at JRM. I mean, they put a lot of pride, I think, in the working on them in the shop and when we unload them. And I wish I could sit here and tell you I woke up one morning and figured out how to drive again, but it's really not that way. I got a great relationship with my crew chief, with my team. All of our teams work so close together over there. We have a ton of information to share. And I'm working hard at it. I'm working way harder now than I was 20 years ago, mentally and physically, to make sure when I show up to the track, I know what to expect. I know what's going on, and I'm going to be as strong as I can be in the car. But, I mean, somebody showed me a stat last week. 63% of the races I have driven for Junior Motorsports, I've been first place in points, which that is a crazy stat. And, you know, we want to keep that up. We want to get some wins, and we want to keep on improving because we feel like we have to peak at the right time, and that's when we get close to playoff season towards the end of the season.
Go up here to Zach and then Nate.
Zach Albert, NASCAR.com. For any of you guys, really, the driver participation guidelines that they put in place before the season started to kind of limit the Cup veterans and the Dash for Cash races and also the playoffs. I guess the first 2 Dash for Cash races have kind of given you guys a preview of what the playoffs might be like. What's it been like kind of having more of the stage for yourself, and does it excite you for what the future could be like in the playoffs under those guidelines? Any one of you guys, yeah.
I think it's what I notice is the same cars are still competitive. So it's even if it's not Kyle in the 18 or whoever, you still have Kyle Larson's in the race, Austin Dillon, guys like that. So it's you're still it's still competing, and but it is fun to race against the guys that you're going to race in the playoffs and kind of understand what guys are going to be really strong. So it gives you a good playing field of what it's going to be like in the playoffs.
Nate Ryan, NBC Sports. My question is for William. Obviously, there was word this week that there's going to be an opening at Hemric Motorsports next season, and you were under contract at Hemric Motorsports. I'm just wondering, have you had any discussions, or has there been any talk about you possibly being a candidate for the number 88 in 2018?
I mean, right now I'm just focused on what we're doing in 17. I think there's I'm 7 races into my Xfinity schedule, so just trying to keep up with this guy, trying to win the Dash for Cash from Daniel, and it's hard enough doing that. So just hopefully have a good run at Richmond and just keep hard work going and see what we can do the rest of the year. I mean, I always want to race. Everyone of us wants to race in the Cup Series, so that's the ultimate goal. So I'd be ready for anything, I think. But right now, it's just focusing on what I can do with JRM and see what we can do the rest of the year and hopefully compete for a championship.
Well, the Richmond Times-Dispatch, Elliott, go back for a second. Has your strategy with the stage racing evolved as the season has gone along?
I think it changes for each track we go to depending on fall off and track position and things that you do. But we just look at races a lot different than what we did in the past couple years because the racing is different. You used to just try to focus on where you were at on lap 200, but now you need to look where you're at the end of each stage. So we kind of set our car up different in practice because you know it's not going to be any long green flag runs. You know a caution is going to save you, so we do some different things in practice than what we've done in the past and use our experience to kind of help us with that. But it's just a different checklist that my crew chief and I go down each and every week as we're preparing for the race and things that we want to work on and things that we maybe struggled with here last year that we can work on for this year. The stage racing has changed all of that and definitely has changed the way we look at strategy during the race. Where do we want to be at what part of the race and where can we gamble at and where shouldn't we gamble at?
Go in the back.
Hey, Elliott. Right back here in the very back, I'm Mitch Carr. I'm with Channel 8 here in town. I know we've talked in years past that you just cherished this week because it's like a home game for you. Can you tell me a little bit about this week, how you've spent it, how it's been different than past weeks? I know it might have been a little bit shorter with the Bristol rain out.
Yeah, it's been a pretty busy week. I was in Charlotte this Tuesday doing some stuff. I was in Alabama Wednesday and then got to come over here yesterday and do an appearance for Xfinity and spend a lot of time with a bunch of my buddies. We went over and played golf at a local golf course, and you know I have over 50 or 60 people coming to hang out with us Saturday, and we always cook out after the race. We like to tailgate just like everybody else after the race and hang out here at the racetrack, and it's definitely a special week. It's a 45-minute drive, you know, from here to my house. And, you know, we get to stay there, and it just has that home track feel to it. You know, I came here in the stands as a kid every single spring when it used to be the third race of the year when it's like 32 degrees. I was here every week. I was here when Richard Petty got on the bulldozer and knocked the walls down when we made it from a half-mile to a three-quarter-mile track. I mean, I was here for all of that. So to be here years later and be on the other side of the fence and have a legitimate shot of running good here each and every race we come to. I mean, I finished third and fourth here both races last year. So, you know, we definitely want to get that win here and keep working on that. But it has a different feel this week compared to any other race that we go to for the entire season, definitely.
We're going back to Mark and then Chris.
Mark Davis from Channel 12 again. Dale Jr.'s announcement obviously making its way through NASCAR this week. Was wondering if you could just talk about what he's meant to you and kind of how he's influenced the sport and just overall your thoughts on his career.
Well, I'm very happy for him, but 100% I'm proud of him, man. That's a tough decision. I know that he sat down and made with his family, and for him to do it this part of the season this early, I think it's normal Dale Jr. style to let his fans know kind of what's going on, and I'm glad the fans got to see his press conference this week too. That's the Dale Jr. we know, just down to earth, level-headed, very approachable, funny guy, and just kind of vulnerable this week to show how real of a person he really is. You know, he and I met when we were 17 years old at South Boston Speedway racing, and it's neat that we're still friends today, and we've been through a lot together, good and bad. But the biggest thing I'm proud of him for, he's the same person today as the first time I met him. You know, heard Martin Truex up here earlier talking about how much he'd done for his career. He's done the same thing for me. I wouldn't be here right now if he and Kelly hadn't given me an opportunity to drive his car a couple years ago, and him looking me in the eye and telling me that he believes we can do it together, and that's a special feeling to have. So believe me, I turned 42 on Sunday. I think any time a driver can go out on his own terms the way he wants to go out is huge for any athlete, but especially in racing. So I'm very proud of him for being able to fight back through what he went through last year, back to 100%, be able to compete, but actually go out on his own terms. I think that makes him feel really good inside.
Chris?
We can hear you, Chris. Go ahead, Chris. Go ahead,
Come on, Chris.
We got you.
Elliott, I was just curious if you were going to get back to the Cup car next weekend at Talladega because you had such a good run. Tommy Baldwin at Daytona.
Yeah, that's a good question, and we are. I'm going to pull double duty at Talladega next weekend, so I'm hooking back up with Tommy Baldwin and Golden Corral, and we were running the Cup race next weekend. So Tommy and I had a lot of fun together at Daytona, so we want to make that happen again. So we will pull double duty there.
So how long do you think that your career will continue to be on?
It's so funny. My wife and I had this conversation this week after Dale's announcement. We sat down and really had a heart-to-heart talk. And as long as I can be competitive and have fun and still urge to run good every week, like I still eat, sleep, drink racing. It's, you know, I feel good when we run good, but I hate it when we run bad. When that time leaves me and I don't want to prepare, or I don't want to work out, or I don't want to study, or I don't care how I ran the weekend before, then I'll put my helmet up. But for right now, I feel good. Now, honestly, I'm in better shape now than I was 20 years ago. I wish I took care of myself this way much 20 years ago. Just I had some bad influences around me. But now I'm in great shape, feel good, and I want to stay after it. Look, guys, I'm having a ball. This is so much fun, and honestly, being able to work with people like William coming in is kind of lets me show my youth side too. You know, I can kind of cut up and have fun with him too. So I'm in a great, perfect situation right now, and I don't. As long as Dale and Kelly will let me drive for them and we're productive, I definitely want to stay a part of the sport.
Okay, we have time for two more. We'll go in the back and then wrap it up with Brian.
Elliott, Sean Robertson, CBS 6 here in town. You've had a great season up to this point. Are you putting extra pressure on yourself to do well here at this track?
Yeah, I think I've always put extra pressure on myself to do well here at this track, and it hadn't always turned out well for me. So, you know, we want to run good here, and we're going to do our best. I mean, my crew chief knows this is where I'm from. We have put everything that we possibly know about short track racing in my car for this weekend, just like we did last year. So, you know, nobody else is going to put any more added pressure on me than I am myself, but it's usually the stakes are higher here. And we're going to go out there and do our best and see what happens. And then, you know, Xfinity throws the extra $100,000 on the line that my wife has already spent. So we got to go out there, and that's all the incentive I need.
And wrap it up with Brian.
Brian Nelson, Motor Racing Network. I know the Xfinity Series and the Truck Series both marketed as proving grounds where the younger guys are going to show what they've got and then step up. So two facets to this, Elliott. I know you're racing for yourself to win, but how do you, or are you involved in mentoring and bringing along some of your younger teammates and others in the sport and the series? And guys, you know, who do you look to help you as you make your mark?
I feel like for myself personally, I've been fortunate to be around a lot of people that have done a lot in this sport. Driving for Brad Keselowski last year, him having to come up to the ranks, you know, driving for Dale and Kelly, and then, you know, making his transition to doing what he's done and being a champion in the sport. It's allowed me to reach out to guys like that, especially all the incentives that are on the line with Dash for Cash and going to racetracks a lot of us have never been to before, going for the first time, and all those different variables. It's good to have those relationships that we can fall back on. So I feel like it's helped all of our learning curve get to a certain point faster, and just the evolution of our sport is that you have to. If not, other guys are doing it. So just having guys like that and having such depth at RCR with all the teammates and Austin Dillon and Ty Dillon and all of our other guys, it just allows us to be better. So I think having that and along the lines of racing with guys like Elliott that have been in the Cup Series, been successful, and now we get to compete against guys like that week in and week out. It makes all of us better, and it gives us something to strive for. And I think that's what is going to separate us when you have this conversation 5 or 10 years down the road, is how we accept the situations we're in now and how we perform, and that's going to set the tone for all of us.
Yeah, and I think with Elliott, he's helped me so much over the first 6-7 races. Just you know, we were sitting there in the rain delay last week, and he's helping me with different things at Bristol and things to think about. And you know, he's very willing to help. So that's something really neat to have as a teammate, and that's really consistent with everyone at JRM. So just a really helpful ground for me to prove myself and still get better.
You know, one thing I want to make sure we touch on is, you know, we try to be an open book, and I want to be an open book for William, because Dale Jarrett and Mark Martin and people like that were an open book with me, because the better William runs, the better for our whole company, because that's when we're all sharing information, we're all on the same page. So we've always had that mentality that we're going to, all the drivers are upfront, honest, throw all the information in a pile, and you kind of pull out what you need. So that's kind of how we've been going through things so far this season. And just to kind of add on what Nate asked about William Byron, he's got it. He's one of these kids that's got it, is going to go Cup and understands it. And I think once he just learns these tracks and these races and setting your car up for the longevity of them and making adjustments and stuff like that, once he gets all that nailed, he's going to win a bunch of races, not only in Xfinity but also in the Cup Series. But I'm not sure what his future holds, but my job as a teammate with the experience is to try to prepare him and help him as much as I can, because the better he runs, the better for all of us in the whole entire company.
I'd say for myself, our JGR teammates, we have quite a few younger teammates on our team that are obviously very successful already with Erik Jones and Daniel Suarez. So I've leaned on those guys a bunch, but this year I've really gotten a good relationship with Carl Edwards as well. Even though he's stepped away from the track, he's given great career advice for myself and advice week to week. So I think you get a little bit of that, and then back to the question earlier about the Cup guys in our series and to the stage racing we have now, getting to see what those guys do to capitalize on these stage races, and you kind of take points of what these guys are doing here and what they're doing, and you say, okay, this is where we need to get better. This is how we get better as a team. So you keep on picking out those little points. You just try to keep on working on something each week, and I think that's how all of us up here get better. Is you just got to keep things going piece by piece, and but that's the great thing about JGR is that we got great teammates, and they're helping me along with that.
Much, guys, and good luck this weekend. Big race tomorrow. Appreciate you guys coming in.
Hey, any of you guys like chopped